Excellent. Welcome, Growth Tribe, fellow entrepreneurs, as well as Facebook advertisers. Today, I'm going to be talking about how to create lookalike audiences. Excellent. Using your existing customer database files or other approaches, whether it's your website visits or Facebook page engagement. My name is Benjamin Kepner of Global Social Media Marketing, and we're going to be talking about one of our clients with ATA Travel Services today. So let's go ahead and jump in. All right, so we're going to start with going to Business Manager, going to Audiences, and then we're going to go to Create Audience, right? So we've got another video that we've actually already created demonstrating how to create custom audiences. We'll be able to link to that in the bottom of this video. But for today's purposes, we're going to be talking about how to create lookalike audiences. So what a lookalike audience does is it pretty much takes a similar audience on Facebook from an existing file or source of that audience that you're uploading. You can upload from a variety of sources, right? So here are the different sources that you can choose from. So if I wanted to type in those different custom audiences, you have things such as value-based sources, right? These are things such as like triggering from maybe third-party applications like CallRail, or using things like the pixel code that's being tracked on the website that you might have for your company. Other sources is what we're going to be using, for example, for today. And we're going to be typing in for the Travel Savings Network. We're going to be creating a custom audience from an existing file that we've gotten from them, right? And this is a customer list, right? Don't pay attention to the name right now. But what we want to use for lookalike audiences that I've seen work recently with other Facebook advertisers is we want to use existing customer lists, because those are the audiences that we know that have bought from us in the past, and we would prefer to have another audience that looks like that audience. We can do some other lookalike sources, but I'm going to be talking about how to do that here to start. So when we upload that audience, right, if you refer to our other video on custom audiences, once that's then been populated, you want to match the countries that are in that audience, right? So if you don't have, for example, all of the information filled in when you upload that custom audience of, let's say, for example, it includes the United States and Canada, then you won't be able to upload it. But if you use the United States and it's all United States, you'll be fine. So make sure when you choose your audience location that you're pulling from where your customers are coming from, or else you won't be able to upload them correctly when you upload the lookalike audience. Third thing that you need to do after you've selected your region and then the source is you need to go in and you need to use the top 1% of that audience. What this means is it's going to pull from the geographic region that you are uploading this audience to be advertised to. So for example, the United States, right? It has over 230 million people in the country. So 1% of that audience is about 2.4 million. That's what this number signifies, right? So we're saying to Facebook, I want you to use past customers that live in that region and then only take the top 1% of that entire country that look like that audience the most. For example, if we were using a smaller country such as like New Zealand, right? They only have a population size of about 6 million. So that might not be a big enough audience. So we might want to at that point say, okay, I want to do 5% and have a bigger audience because New Zealand's a smaller country. So this number should really be impacted by the country that you're targeting. But most people are going to be targeting the United States or Canada. So I would just recommend using a 1% and using a customer list to create that lookalike audience. Now, one thing to note that this does take time to update. It does take more than, in my experience, 6 hours. Sometimes it can take 24 hours. Sometimes it can take 72 hours. So give it about a day or two after you've uploaded a custom list to populate first, then create the lookalike, and it will automatically update. So if you see that the audience is below 1,000 in the beginning, it's okay. You can even look at the estimated reach right here. One thing that I've noticed also recently with Facebook advertising is the bigger you make this audience, the lower your cost is going to be, but the more general it's going to be. It's not going to be as targeted. So try to have an audience size that's somewhere in the range between 250,000 and 2.4 million. If you can stay in that range, you'll have an audience that's more targeted and it's not so generalized. So let's go ahead and create that lookalike audience. And now you can see that it's populated, right? Because we've already populated from an existing custom audience that's had time, and there's our audience size. So now if we want to go use that new lookalike audience that we just created, we would go into our ad campaign. And let's say, for example, we want to adjust our existing web leads ad. We'd go in and we go into one of our example ad sets, and we're targeting the United States, right, from that lookalike audience. And then what we can do is we can just go ahead and upload that one that we created. So there's that 1%, right? And then what we want to do here, what I've also realized, is we don't want to change anything. The reason for that is if we went and we added another country, right, it's going to make the audience more, and it's not going to look like our existing customers. Our existing customers live in the United States, so let's not change that. The age of this list, it seems to be that it's coming from 28 to 25. So leave that. Same thing with the languages. We don't need to actually add those for this because it's a lookalike audience. We're trying to match that data that is so valuable to Facebook as much as possible. So don't narrow it anymore. Don't change the ages. Leave it all genders. We also want to turn off detailed targeting expansion when we do a lookalike audience. We don't want to increase the size of potential audience. We want to find as close and as similar as possible. We can definitely exclude as well if you want to take out people that you're existing fan. But again, best practice, I would probably just leave all of this. And that's what really makes lookalike audiences nice to work with is once you have a customer database list and you upload it from the beginning, you really shouldn't change it because you're trying to find as close of an audience as possible. So then we would click publish, right? And then we would adjust that audience. So that's kind of how you want to go about, I think, number one, with a really warm lookalike audience when you're creating one for your existing customers. Let's say you don't have an existing customer database list or you're in the midst of cleaning it up. Another option that you can do is you can go and you can create lookalike again, and you could choose from one of those different sources, right? So other sources that I could maybe do is I could do something like using a lookalike audience from a website visitors, right? So every lookalike audience that we create has to come from a custom audience. The first example that I just explained to you is through a customer list. What we could also use potentially is a website. So if I wanted to use, for example, anyone that had visited the website in the last 180 days, and let's just give that a name. So web visitors, 180 days. It's a custom audience that I've just created now. And then once it's populated, right, I can create a lookalike audience. So that would really be valuable, right? If I'm, for example, sending people to like a landing page and they're not converting for some reason. And now I can go through and I can create that source and just say web visitors, right? There it is. Select the location. That's where you'd want to go into, like, for example, with your website, you might want to go to Google Analytics. You might want to see, am I getting visitors from other countries? You want to include all of those. But just for today's video, we're just going to keep it simple and use United States without going into analytics. And then again, we could create a 1% audience and see that right there. So now we've got two lookalike audiences. We've got one of a customer list and web visitors. Those are warmer leads. One final option that has also worked that I'll cover, there's lots of other different options that you can do for lookalike. For today's video, I'm really just trying to show the ones that I think are the best for getting quality leads and more customers. Is using something like one of your existing Facebook sources, right? So you could actually use your Facebook page, right? So people that have engaged with your page. That's another really good use case of using some existing customers, right? So man, I've got so many in here. Travel Savings Network, I could do all the people that have engaged with our Facebook post, and that could mean that they've shared it, they've liked it, they've commented, right? Those are people that are already having conversations with us. And maybe if they can see another form of advertising or another type of engagement ad, they might go further down the cycle for us. So we can just say Facebook page engagement, and then we can do the last 365 days, right? And now we've got that audience as a custom audience, and now we can create a lookalike audience from that, right? So if you're creating good like campaigns and you're being really targeted and you're getting customers that could be potential customers, Another good way is to go find more of those fans that you're creating as a lookalike audience. We'll just go ahead and we might want to go look at our page, right? And go look into our Facebook insights for this, right? So using the data and saying how many countries are engaging with our page, we're just going to do United States again to keep things simple for today's video. And then again, we're going to go with 1%, and then we'll create that audience. So these are some different ways that you can create lookalike audiences. You know, there's a lot of different ways that you can do this, but in my experience, start with a customer list first. Don't adjust the targeting too much. Then if you don't have that available to, use your website. If you don't have that available, you have a Facebook page, you should be building engagement there. I hope this video has been helpful. Please do refer our custom audience if any of that was foreign to you as well. And please like and subscribe. And here's to infinity and beyond.